All right, peace and welcome to the culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of the conversation. Folks, we got a lot to talk about. First and foremost, let's talk about what happened last night for the election results. As we kick off the election season, we're going to talk about some of the big races that happened and the implication of those races. Also, we got to certainly talk about what's going to happen tonight on the Republican side as they get geared up for the third Republican debate in Miami, Florida. Of course, I'm going to check in with my sister Suzette Speaks to tell us what the energy is like down in Florida as Republicans descend on her city. We're going to talk about that. Also, let's talk about how there was a black student who was part of the school parade in an orange jumpsuit in a makeshift cell. Yeah. That happened. We'll discuss that. And the big question that people are wondering, does Lauryn Hill really care about our time? These are big, looming questions that we need to have answers to. We're going to share with you what she said. More importantly, dissect what she said and ask the question, is that enough? So stay with us. It's all happening on today's edition of The Culture right here on the Black Star Network. Let's go. All right, folks, welcome to the culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of the conversation. We got a lot to talk about as we are doing our part here on Black Star Network. Make sure y'all check us out as we stream it on a number of different platforms. First, starting on our home platform of blackstarnetwork.com. Download the app for free. Follow us on social media. And, of course, give something to help power this movement. So go to Black Star Network today. And please support us. Also, we're streaming live on Amazon News on Fire TV, on Amazon Prime Video. And there you are, all the information about Amazon Prime Video. You can find us on the Prime Video app or go to Amazon.com and you can find us there under Prime Video Live TV, the news. And we're also on Freevee. And you can find us there under news. And of course, we are on Plex TV, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. All right, let me check in with my sister Suzette Speaks as she is joining us again. She's been running around the whole country, and that's why she couldn't join us last week. So I'm very excited to have my sister back on this week, especially today, considering there is so much political stuff that's happening. And of course, folks, we want you to join us as a culture crew member on our YouTube page under Roland Martin. You can join the conversation. And big shout out, Suzette, to the online culture crew. There we go. Who is checking in from all around the country. I see folks checking in. Who we got here? We got Pastor Damon Blissett who's checking in. And we got, let me make sure I'm going to say this. Cindy D, I see you. That's all I'm going to say, Suzette. Because Cindy be like, Farajii don't even be seeing me. Cindy D, I see you, and all of our wonderful culture crew members. But Suzette, good afternoon. How you feeling today?
I'm energized. I was telling Farajii guys, it's good to be back, and I was just at a meeting with some Black leaders speaking to DNC leadership about what we need to do here in Florida, and I'm grateful for that audience. And again, so much I can talk about there, but I know we'll get right into it. It's an exciting time right now in Miami. As you stated, we have a debate going on tonight. Almost had me jammed up today in traffic getting here. But yes, we are right now, today at least, at the center of politics for our country, knowing that there will be this debate tonight at the Adrian R. Center, not too far from where I am, for the Republican side. And we do have the DNC chair, Mr. Jamie Harrison, also in town holding meetings as well.
Some strategies, some tactics, trying to get Florida, which is always a battleground state as far as politics is concerned. It's always a big state. So, you know, I know how you move, Suzanne. You go in them circles, right? So I get it. All right, first up, let's talk about what we saw last night, and then we'll talk about what we can expect tonight. Last night, of course, was what many would say is the kickoff for election season as we are a few days shy of being 1 year out. So we're 1 year out from the national election of 2024. So last night kicked it off. There were some major races, there were some smaller races, but there was always a lot of the stakes are high in all the races. So what's your, and I know we got to take a quick pause, but what's your overall sentiment of how things went yesterday, especially for the Democratic Party?
Yeah, I think with recent polls that were being talked about all week up until now, that President Biden wasn't looking so good, especially in certain battleground states, that he had a very, very tall order to fill with regards to younger voters, with regards to African-American voters and white voters. But what we saw was there was actually support for issues on which the Democrats seem to align with the majority of voters. When we talk about what happened with Ohio, with the approval of a constitutional amendment in Ohio for the protection of a woman's right to choose of abortion. When we look at what happened in the Virginia House of Representatives, or they call it, I think, House of Delegates there, where now Democrats are in control there and won a majority. When we look even what happened in our mayoral race in Philly, a shout out to the new mayor-elect Cheryl Parker. We saw strong showings across the board. Andy Beshear in Kentucky, and I know we'll get to all of those races, but a lot of signs of hope for Democrats as, again, kind of contrast what was being touted and circulated as far as Biden not having the support at this day, this week so far. But now Election Day, I think, has proven otherwise, and it's a great day, I think, for many Democrats as they would assess what happened last night.
Absolutely. All right, look, we got to take a first pause. When we come forward, crew, I want you to share your thoughts about what you saw happening last night from all of the races, both the big ones and the small minor ones, and what's your overall sentiment? Do you feel like this is going to give Democrats a boost? Is this going to be a telltale sign for Republican? Where do you see, or what are your thoughts around on what happened yesterday? So join us in the conversation. We're streaming live on Roland Martin's YouTube page. And of course, stay tuned. We got a whole lot to cover in this first half of the show. So stay with us. It's all happening on today's edition of The Culture right here on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Your money makes this possible. Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20036-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
I'm Farajii Muhammad, live from LA. And this is The Culture. The Culture is a two-way conversation. You and me. We talk about the stories, politics, the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. So join our community every day at 3 p.m. Eastern and let your voice be heard. Hey, we're all in this together. So let's talk about it and see what kind of trouble we can get into. It's The Culture, weekdays at 3, only on the Black Star Network.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punching!
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
All right, folks, welcome back to the culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad, checking in with my sister, Suzette Speaks, who is an attorney. And can I put down there a political strategist? Can we say that?
That is absolutely true. Yes. Consultant, strategist, however you want to put it. Yes. We've been doing it a while. I've officially worked on Biden campaigns, so I know a little something. So yes, sir.
You know a little something. Look, there we go. That's called skin in the game right there. There we go. Suzette Speaks, sister. Make sure y'all check her out on the Suzette Speaks show on YouTube. Follow her on all social media, man. She's absolutely phenomenal. But so you saw a couple of things, and I want to play. We know we got some words from Mayor-elect Parker from Philadelphia from her speech last night. I want to play her speech because you brought her up because I think that was a pivotal win. She is the 100th mayor of the city of Philadelphia. I think she's the first Black woman mayor of the city of Philadelphia as well. First woman. You're right. So she is already coming in on historic precedence. So let's hear what Madam Mayor has to say about her victory yesterday and her ideas on where to take the city of Philadelphia. Check it out.
Philadelphia, I started out on this campaign trail and I tried to follow the script. A lot of campaign experts thought that they would tell us the best way that we should walk, talk, and act to win an election and get votes. For those of you who know me, it just didn't feel right. And so I got on the trail and I began to talk about out loud. I didn't hide from it because I wouldn't allow anybody else to attempt to weaponize my humble beginnings against me. So before they could do it, I made sure that I told you that I was born to a single teenage mother, that I was raised by my grandparents, that my grandmother collected welfare and subsidized food to take care of me. And when I talked about the welfare, they said, well, what do you mean? Did you get public assistance? And did you have the credit card? And I said I had colored money in books. I said I took purple 20s, green 10s, and brown dollars to pick well. I told folks out loud about that 5-pound block of cheese that never sliced as thin as we wanted it to, but it made the best macaroni and cheese in the whole wide world. I said it out loud because I needed people to know that my real life, lived experience was closest to the people who are feeling the most pain right now in our city. And my message to Philadelphians from all walks of life was that if they would just give me the opportunity, that I would put to great use everything inside of me, my lived life experience, my professional experience, my academic preparation, that I would put all of it to great use to work with you all to make Philadelphia the safest, cleanest, greenest big city in the nation with economic opportunity for all. And listen, Philadelphia, this is important what I'm about to say. When I delivered the message, the first time they heard me, maybe I was with Vincent Hughes in West Philadelphia, but it was a black audience. And what they thought was going to happen was that when Driscoll and Dillon took me to the Northeast to a ward meeting, they thought that the message was going to change. This is what I publicly affirm to each of you. Marion Tasco, you should remember this line. You taught me this. When it comes time for us to have tough discussions about tough issues, guess what we won't do? We won't tiptoe through the tulips. We don't care about the race, the class, the socioeconomic status, the zip code, the religion, the sexual orientation, the identity. No matter where we went, our message stayed the same. And guess what I learned during that time, Philadelphia? That people were yearning for authenticity. They were yearning to hear somebody, to speak to them like a regular person. They were learning to do what we learned in the Baptist church. You all will remember it. Sometimes when the preacher is speaking, you'll hear somebody in the congregation say, "Make it plain." When I was on the campaign trail, I learned that Philadelphians wanted someone to make it plain. And when I shared that message, I made sure I let them know how complex the issues were. That there was no one single thing that we could do to accomplish all of those goals, but that it would take local, state, federal government, the private sector, and the philanthropic community all working together in order to make it happen. And guess what? It happened.
All right, folks, that was Philadelphia's new mayor-elect Sherelle Parker, giving her speech last night, her victory speech last night. We're going to take another quick pause when we come forward, get some thoughts from Suzette Speaks, and, of course, from you, our online culture crew. What do you make of the mayor? This is one of the big races that the whole country was looking at yesterday, and guess what? She pulled out a victory, an historic win for her and for the city of Philadelphia, and it is going to be something to see how this moves forward. So we're going to have that conversation and other discussions about the other races that happened yesterday. Stay with us. It's The Culture here on the Black Star Network.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
I'm Farajii Muhammad, live from LA. And this is The Culture. The Culture is a two-way conversation. You and me. We talk about the stories, politics, the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. So join our community every day at 3 p.m. Eastern and let your voice be heard. Hey, we're all in this together. So let's talk about it and see what kind of trouble we can get into. It's The Culture, weekdays at 3, only on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. Let me bring my sister back into the frame, Suzette Speaks. We just heard a very emotional yet rousing and inspiring speech from Mayor-elect Sherelle Parker, the new, who was elected yesterday, the new mayor of the city of Philadelphia, a woman that has made history, but a woman that certainly has a story. So what's your take of, this election here, Suzette? This seems like this would be a huge boost, and this would add a lot of momentum to the Democrats' cause. What's your take on that?
Well, I look at it as, Philly being a Democratic stronghold. We kind of expected a Democrat to win this, but again, she did so handily at 70% of the vote, beating a Republican, David O. When you hear her story, again, she has such a compelling story. And this is why we got to remind people that it's real people that run for office, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be, so-called, career politicians, even though she has been involved since even high school as an intern in politics. But her story is just like so many other Philadelphians. Yes, her mom was a teenage mom. Her mom passed when she was 11. Therefore, she was raised by her grandparents. Her grandma was a domestic worker. Her grandpa was a retired veteran and a disabled veteran. So to have her bring that part of her story out when there were people that told her that would hurt her, it actually strengthened her, because I'm sure there are so many people that can relate to her walk, right? Her journey. She's 51, which is very young. I'll add to this being another major U.S. city ran by an African-American. Remember, we got Philly's in the top 10 of largest cities in our countries. Add that to Houston, add that to Chicago. Black folks do very well, especially in local elections, right? All politics is local. And so when you go door to door, when you have the money and the infrastructure to tell your story, to talk about where you stand on policy, we can win, as we show time and time again. So I think, again, this is a very good harbinger for what Pennsylvania as a whole may have in store for 2024. But again, hers is a historic win, and she should be, congratulated. She's put in the work, 10 years in their state house. And she also served since 2015 on the local dais there, being on the council. So she knows Philly, right? She's of the city, born in Philly, went to Lincoln University, right? HBCU grad. So we were very proud of her. And again, the work begins now.
The work begins now. Alana checked in and said, people are tired of being lied to. Black people are not dumb. Absolutely, Lana. And I appreciate you for posting that. Tiana, my sister, you said, I'm not from Philly, but she got my vote. She got my vote. There it is, right there. Corinna, my sister, you said it can always happen when we decide to vote. Absolutely, absolutely. Um, and who else is checking in to talk a little bit about this? This is a big. Like I said, this is a big win. When I heard her, it reminded me of my mayor here, Mayor Karen Bass, when she won here for the city of Los Angeles. She didn't have a major budget. Of course, she's from South LA. She has her story as well, but she was going up against a very, very like formidable opponent in here in LA, and he outspent her maybe 10 times at least. And she was still able to pull it off. So we are seeing some shift. And I know that like even in my hometown of Suzette, you got black women running for mayor there in Baltimore. So it's there is a shift. There is a shift that is happening, and big shout out to Madam Mayor Elect Parker for that victory last night. Let's talk a little bit about. Let's move on down here because everybody's talking. Let's go from Philly to the South because everybody's talking about Kentucky.
Woo!
Daniel,
Thank you, Kentucky. Thank you,
Kentucky former Attorney General Daniel Cameron has officially lost. This is the guy that presided over the Breonna Taylor case. This is the guy that was the target of activists from around the country, and especially those in Kentucky who was fighting for justice for Breonna Taylor and the shooting of that sister. And Daniel Cameron thought he had it in the bag. What happened there, Suzette?
Well, it was indeed a close race, and he decided, as you pointed out, not to bring charges in the against the officers in the Breonna Taylor case. So I first of all want to say, again, we need regular everyday people to win. You do not have to be, or to run, excuse me. You do not have to be rich. You do not have to be out of, the best parts of town, so to speak, economically speaking. Mayor-elect Cheryl Parker is from Mount Airy, Northwest Philly. As we saw here, shifting to Kentucky, we saw a black candidate in Mr. Cameron, the Attorney General in Kentucky, go head-to-head against the incumbent, already Governor Andy Beshear. What's interesting about this race is that Andy Beshear has name recognition beyond his own term. His father also served in public office, and he had a Team Kentucky theme to his reelection campaign. People didn't really see him truly as Big D Democrat. He never really emphasized that when he was talking to folks. He was talking from a point of view of being a unifier, and that it's not about you left and you on the right, or you're a Democrat or you're a Republican. It's about us being our brothers and sisters keepers. So he thread a very tough needle, but it worked in his speech. I don't know if we have some clips from him. I watched his whole speech as well. He's a very personable guy. A nice family, a wife with 2 kids. Again, he had presided over COVID. He had presided over several tragic incidents in Kentucky as well. So he spent a lot of time. They say he goes door to door. He's no stranger, especially in the rural parts of Kentucky, outside of the big cities that tend to swing more Democrat. But he did it. And again, in a deep red state, ain't no purple with Kentucky normally.
No.
For a Democratic moderate to win there, I think is a very good sign for Democrats going into 2024.
Let me see here because the crew is definitely talking about it. Let me see who said this. Oh, Tiana said, this is based on what Corinna said. Said I think there may be a shift in Kentucky. It's slow, but it's shifting. And I know we got to take another quick pause, but would you agree with that statement at this point, Suzette, that there is a change that's happening in the state of Kentucky?
I think the right candidate can win it. And Andy Beshear has proven it. You can have a D behind your name, but if people know him on the ground as Andy, they don't even call him governor. Like everyday people like, oh, Andy this, Andy that. He has ingratiated himself into this idea of one Kentucky. We are a team. We are trying to move us all forward, and people bought into it. So I think, especially in a deep red state like Kentucky, it is a sign of hope. I don't know about a very large shift, but it shows that with the right candidate, Democrats can win in a deep red state.
Absolutely. All right, we're going to take another quick pause. When we come forward, more conversations about what happened last night. And maybe we can squeeze in there some time to talk about what's happening tonight as well as we talk about this upcoming Republicans debate that is showing that it's.
And another one. Sorry. This is serious.
All right, folks, stay with us. We still got a lot to talk about here on The Culture on the Black Star Network.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punching.
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Hey, Black, I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart. Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
I'm Farajii Muhammad, live from LA. And this is The Culture. The Culture is a two-way conversation. You and me. We talk about the stories, politics, the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. So join our community every day at 3 p.m. Eastern and let your voice be heard. Hey, we're all in this together. So let's talk about it and see what kind of trouble we can get into. It's The Culture, weekdays at 3, only on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. Got my sister Suzette Speaks as we go over just some of the big races that happened last night there was election night in America kicking off the election season. All right, so we've been talking about Kentucky and Brother Damon, Pastor Damon Blissett, he said he is from Kentucky. And guess what, Suzette? He said there's no shift. There's no shift happening in Kentucky. He said, but he does agree with the fact that there has to be the right candidate. So I guess like they used to say, the proof is in the pudding. We will have to see if what has happened, this change with Daniel Cameron and Andy Beshear, if this is going to be an outlier moment or if this is going to be the new trend. Now, here's the other part about this. We can't avoid the fact, Brother Roland talked about this, Tamika Mallory, Linda Sarsour, my brother, my son, brothers and sisters who are on the ground advocating for justice for Breonna Taylor. Do you expect, this is a two-pronged question. The first thing is, do you expect more type of activism and advocacy happening in other states that are going to shift elections in the next election cycle as we get closer to the presidential race? Do you expect more people going to use that method as a way to change the election or to really, push the election in a different direction?
Well, I think, especially in Kentucky, someone like Daniel Cameron on the Republican side was very divisive. The first thing I remember after I was watching for the result last night is looking at Brother Roland Martin's Instagram, which was like, look at
Right.
you. We didn't
Right.
forget you, sir. And what you prevented, the justice that, again, in Roland's, paraphrasing, his Instagram post was like, no, you lost. And I think I would add race as a kind of factor in his candidacy, because there are Black Republicans running. And I think that might seem like a strategy maybe from the right, from the Republican side. But I think Black people are not just swayed by kind of a racial component
No.
to whoever is at the top of the ticket, whether they be Republican or Democrat. But we've seen that. And I find that very interesting. I was trying to think of other gubernatorial races where Black candidate was the Republican. I remember just thinking, because we were talking about Pennsylvania, Lynn Swan. I don't know if you remember when he ran as governor of Pennsylvania, he just barely lost. So I'm wondering who's not comfortable there if you are seating a Black Republican, and what the breakdown is of all voters kind of across the board to look at that trend. But I do think the trend that we will see, and I know we're going to talk about Ohio and what happened there, is that you'll see, especially in states that are hostile towards abortion rights. We know, again, in 2022, the Supreme Court reversed a 50-year plus precedent of Roe v. Wade in the Dobbs decision, now sending it back to the states and basically not affirming that there's a constitutional right to an abortion. So state by state, each state is taking it into their own hands. And we have state legislatures in places that are very conservative, putting us in a position where we're seeing 6-week ban, 15-week, some complete bans. But in Ohio, what we saw was there was the use of a statewide initiative. We have it in Florida. We have it in almost every state, where people by petition can get a proposal on a ballot, right? And then have the people vote on it. So
Right.
what we saw in Ohio was a ballot initiative that protects and enshrines the right of abortion into the Ohio Constitution, and it won. So we see across the board in nationwide polling, when it comes to abortion, 2/3 of Americans say there should be some legal right to termination of pregnancy. So when we talk about, what Republicans are going to stand on, I think they got something that they had been fighting for so long, but maybe the electorate has changed. The people, the body of us voters here in the United States have seen it kind of a different way, even on the Republican side. So I do think a trend that we'll see, especially in states that are much more red or more Republican leaning, where their legislatures are more likely to impose bans. I think we have 7 states now. I think Ohio is the 7th state to put it as a general ballot initiative and have it passed so that abortion is protected. I think that will indeed be a trend.
That is going to be a huge trend, because now we're talking not necessarily about a candidate and one personality, but you're talking about a larger issue, right? And you're talking about, and I think that when there is, as we saw in the state of Ohio and other states, that when there is this kind of quote unquote mandate on a particular issue, it reverberates, it hits different. Because you're talking about policy that's going to affect years and years, and you're talking about policy that will affect generations. So I think that there certainly needs to be more thought into understanding the complexities and the impact of those ideas and of those issues if they go unaddressed. If you have abortion on the ballot, and reproductive rights and a woman's right to choose on the ballot, you can't just think 4 years. You got to think 10. You got to think 15. You got to think 20 years down the road, because you don't want to just start a precedent or start a situation and then it just goes rollbacks on you, or your children won't be able to benefit, or your grandchildren won't be able to benefit. I mean, that's the difference, I think, in issue-driven thinking versus a candidate-driven thinking. You think candidate, you say, okay, 4 years. You think issues, you like, we're putting some real time into this situation.
Absolutely. I think kind of what we're also seeing is that no matter what they are, whether they're Republican or Democrat, a lot of women are on the opposite side of the issue when it comes to how, Republicans saw through the Supreme Court a victory, right? So I think it's going to be an interesting factor, especially like you said, if it is on the ballot, what it does for or against either party in 2024. If we see more ballot initiatives, we are collecting signatures here in Florida, and that is an active ballot initiative that's being sought out to put again in the Constitution by voter ballot initiative, the protection of abortion. Again, I think we're at 6 weeks now in Florida. So you have, again, these protections. I think, especially in Ohio, that story that came out about, I think it was like a 10-year-old right after the Dobbs decision last summer, who suffered from, I think it was a incest-based sexual attack and had to go across state lines. Though people remember that stuff. So no matter the party, I think the Democrats have the advantage when people remember that issue and go into a polling site. But it's also going to, be more difficult, I think, for the Republicans to find a way to connect if we're seeing this trend that when people at large on a ballot initiative basis are given the opportunity to protect this, people want more rights or to maintain their rights, not less rights. So I think that will continue to be a trend.
Absolutely. We got to take another quick pause, but I do want to take some time on the other side, Suzette, because I like what I saw up in Rhode Island, what happened there. And I don't want that to kind of go under the radar. I like what I saw there. But then there is still some concern, I think, coming from the Biden-Harris administration about, even though Democrats seem to be creating some momentum, the concern is still, what do you do with Black voters? How should this particular administration, how should the Democratic Party really attract Black voters? Because as much as you got these wins, I'm wondering, will that be enough to get Black voters to stay engaged for the presidential election? So I'd love to get your take on that as well. And crew, continue to post your comments in the chat as we're streaming live on Roland Martin's YouTube page. And of course, stay tuned. We still got a lot more to talk about in the second half of the show. We'll talk about the voting situation. We'll talk about what's going on with this high school student. And we got to talk about Miss Lauryn Hill. Stay with us. It's The Culture here on the Black Star Network.
Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punch! I'm real revolutionary right now.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig? When you talk about blackness and what happens in Black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in Black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Check some money orders. Go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of the conversation. We've been doing our part here to do a recap of what happened last night as it was Election Day 2023, kicking off the election season. And there were a number of races that was of significance that it may be a telltale sign of what we can expect as we get closer to the presidential election in November of next year. And so we talked about some of the races of Philadelphia and Kentucky and just a couple of other states. But I don't want us to lose sight of the fact that, folks, we still want you to go out and vote. We still want you to get involved. And more importantly, stay informed about the candidates and what they stand for more than anything else. And that will be your deciding factor of how you move forward. Got my sister Suzette Speaks joining us. Make sure y'all check her out on the Suzette Speaks Show on YouTube, as well as follow her on all social media platforms. She brings great analysis. She's not only an attorney, she's a political strategist, talking to us about the implications of all of these races. I want to take a little bit more time, Suzette, to talk a little bit about the abortion piece, because I saw what you said, Monkey Confessions. Not trying to put you on blast, man, but I do want to clear it up for those who are in the chat that you said, correct, abortion is not really a black issue. Now, I saw that the exchange between you and Tiana, and saying that Tiana making the point that abortion is a black issue, having a child can cause economic hardship. And I'm wondering if that is something that, and again, Monkey Confession, just listening to what you're saying, I'm wondering, Suzette, when it comes to like those issues like reproductive rights, women's health, does that issue resonate with voters, particularly black voters, as being a black issue? Or is it still seen as an issue of white women and other women? Because I know, unfortunately, I know sisters who have made those choices or who have considered making that choice. So how does that resonate with black voters and with black people? Do we need to change the conversation around just those issues like that?
I think, well, I'll take it from the Miami, South Florida perspective, because I do think it affects black people, especially black women. So when we say it's an issue for black people, well, it most certainly is an issue for black women. So therefore, yes, it is an issue for black people. I think depends on, the part of the country you're from, your religious bent. I think, again, black people can feel many ways about this. But I do think for many black women, it is a very large, or looms large, as an issue that affects their lives and affects the people that they love. So I do think that to say it's not a black issue, I wouldn't characterize that as being the most kind of accurate, because I think for black women, it most certainly is. So whether, they're in support of it or they are against it, I think there's this tone that is now much more common of, we or a personal decision against it does not mean I should prevent you from having your decision, as it were, between you, your God, your doctor, your husband, or whoever your partner is. So it is still, controversial in some circles. So again, black people are not monolithic. So there are going to be people that disagree. But I think for black women, it is a huge issue. And therefore, I would characterize it as a black issue. Because what we do with our bodies and whether there are exemptions for the life of the mother, rape, incest, and those things, that matters to black women a whole lot. So I do think it's an issue that is for front and center for black women. Absolutely.
And again, there are other issues on the ballot. What do you think are the big takeaways that the Democratic Party is looking at from what happened last night? And let me before you answer that one, let's go to the other race that I definitely want to get your take on.
Oh, yes.
And everybody's take on. Rhode Island.
Yes.
Rhode Island. They former White House aide Gabe Amo, first Black American to represent Rhode Island's first congressional district. And this is a Black man. He worked in the White House, but he's made history. He defeated Republican challenger Jerry Leonard, a U.S. Marine veteran, in Rhode Island's general election. Mr. Gabe Amo, he told the Grio that he decided to run to stand up for women, for the fundamental freedoms to really thrive both in our country and in our community. He said, we see what the Republicans are doing in trying to cut Medicare and Social Security, doing nothing on gun violence. taking away freedoms like the reproductive rights of so many in our country. And so the 35-year-old, he's going to be the first black man to represent Rhode Island's first congressional district, that he has chosen not to make that his focus. What's your take on that? Because that sounds like there's some shifting and changing there, Suzette.
Well, first of all, let's congratulate the brother. This is occurring in a state, Rhode Island, that is 5.7% black, right? 71% white. When we look at just the feat of him being a millennial, he's 35 years old. His dad is from West Africa, I believe. Dad is from Ghana, mom from Liberia. So has experience working in the White House. Again, Rhode Island is not a state that is as diverse as many of our other states here in the union. So for him to be elected, I think is a huge feat. And that people, again, resonated with him as an individual. Yes, the candidate, but also his message. For Rhode Island voters, it works. So I think, again, it is a interesting race because, again, his age, his background is unique. And of course, we can't ignore that he's racially probably, unlike the majority of folks from Rhode Island as a state, but they didn't see that as an issue for them. They voted for a person that they could believe in their, and also in their the policies that he presented. Because I do think, again, one of the things I want to get back to, the issues that Democrats are facing has to do with messaging. Republicans, in my personal opinion, are so much craftier when it comes to what can go viral, when it comes to the soundbite game. People don't like to necessarily get their news from TV like we once did. We are on social media. There is now, Twitter is a wild, wild west. YouTube, after Ron DeSantis won, now doesn't prevent any, fact checking or excuse me, now doesn't require any fact checking before you put videos out. This is a new landscape. So I think what Mr. Gabe Amo has been able to do is, again, the message resonated, and once they find your message, relates to what's going on in their lives, how they grew up, where they can, believe in you, trust you, we can win. But I do think in Democratic circles, a lot of talk is being held around strengthening the message. What Biden has really done when we talk about what is a black issue in the roundtable I just participated in. And I'm grateful, again, the Democratic chair is not a stranger here to black leaders in Miami. We came to listen. And he was asking us, what do we see on the ground? What are the conversations like in the barbershop? What can we present? When we say, what has Joe Biden done? When we point out $7 billion to HBCUs, when we point out, instead of the word infrastructure, where people don't even know what that means, the average person doesn't understand the infrastructure bill. How does it trickle down to your life, to your community, to your jobs, right? So much of the legislation that we've seen passed over the Biden administration is helpful to black people, but we're kind of, covered under the large group. People don't see it as black issues or black driven, which can be a problem in the messaging. So we had a wonderful kind of listening session where we were able to kind of describe what we're hearing from everyday people that stayed home. Right? The black people won't vote for the other side, but they will stay home if they are not a compelling reason to go vote. If we're not organized, Obama won right up here in Miami Gardens. There were 3 or 4 organizers per precinct. What does that mean? People who were paid to knock on doors. People in this last election, 2022, some people didn't even know there was an election going on. And so that's very crazy to many of us here. We're preaching to the choir predominantly, people who pay attention, people who care. But a lot of our brethren are just trying to survive the economic piece. We got to talk about that, right? Housing. We have a poverty rate in Miami-Dade. I think it's like 20% for black folks. What are we voting for if we got 25% of our people living, at the poverty rate, right? So we got to talk about how those bills that were passed, how Biden helped us through this pandemic, right? Survive this now rumor that is like, oh, I'm voting for Trump because we got the checks. Trump's gave it. What are you talking about? What are we talking about? It is a messaging battle for where people get their news on social media, Twitter, those places, YouTube, Instagram, like it or not, that's where people are getting their information. And I think Democrats are at far greater deficit for understanding that medium and really harnessing it for getting out the Biden has done a lot for you message, especially to Black folks.
Well, you know what, and I agree with you to a certain point, and I know we got to take another pause, but I don't know if it's messaging. I don't know if it's messaging for the Democrat. I think that there's this expectation, and I think this is probably one of the big run-ins that the wall that the Democratic Party is running up against. It's this expectation that you're going to, that Black folks are just going to continue to support. You know what I'm saying? I think Democrats now they may be changing it, but I think for a very long time, the Democratic Party looked at Black people like a monolith. Like, oh, they'll ride with us. They will never. I mean, if you think about those moments, those faux pas moments that the president has had, even that infamous moment where he said, "If you don't vote for me, you're not Black." It's like that is the expectation. Now, again, can that man change? Absolutely. Can the party change? Absolutely. But I think that for a very long time, the Democratic Party did not see us. They did not see us. So now we're putting fire under their asses. And now they're like, oh, okay, we got to do messaging. But look how long does it take? The messaging should be the issues. The messaging should be supporting candidates, big and small, across the board. If, for example, if the Democratic Party opened it up a little bit and now they say, okay, we're going to have all these conditions on what it means to be a Black candidate versus a candidate for the people, then I think that may resonate a little differently, right? Because, yes, we've seen Black candidates. Everybody, after Obama, he has become the prototype Black candidate, right? But now you got to ask yourself, in cities across this country, why can't the Black candidate wear locks? I'm just talking about, I know this might sound crazy, right? But I'm just saying, the cultural side of things, have a candidate that wears locks. Have a candidate that talks about reparations, but he's still running on the Democratic ticket. Have a candidate, support a candidate that may not have a lot of money, but at the same time, he has or she has the passion to serve. I mean, you got to see that. And I think that's part of I think that is part of the problem, not just messaging. Messaging is fine, but if people are getting alternative facts, then your messaging will automatically become muddled. So it's got to be some other things that has to be done. Very quickly, CA Pullen. CA, you said, I didn't even think there was that. You said, I didn't even think it was that many Black people in Rhode Island. Congrats to that brother, talking about Gabe Ammo. Yeah, absolutely. Congrats to him. It's going to be interesting to see how he works out moving forward. But, congrats to him. And I know he made history, but he can't forget that even in a state with 5% Black people, he has a ton of gratitude that he owes to those folks. He has to serve those folks just as much as he serves the 71%. You know what I'm saying? And that's how you build that power. I know we got to take another quick pause when we come forward. Let's talk about some other things on the other side. Stay with us. It's The Culture here on the Black Star Network.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie. We'll laugh together, cry together, pull ourselves together, and cheer each other on. So join me for new shows each Tuesday on Black Star Network, A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punch! I'm real revolutionary right now.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black
own media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
What happened? Am I not in this show?
Hatred on the streets, a horrific scene, a white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence.
White people are losing their damn minds.
As an angry pro-Trump mob storms the U.S. Capitol,
We're about to see the rise of what I call white minority resistance. We have seen white folks in this country who simply cannot tolerate black folks voting.
I think what we're seeing is the inevitable result of violent denial.
This is part of American history. Every time that people of color have made progress, whether real or symbolic, there has been what Carol Anderson at Emory University calls white rage as a backlash.
This is the rise of the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys. America, there's going to be more of this.
Here's all the Proud Boys, guys.
This country is getting increasingly racist in its behaviors and its attitudes because of the fear of white people.
The fear that they're taking our jobs, they're taking our resources, they're taking our women. This is white fear.
All right, folks, welcome back to the culture here on the Black Star Network. Joining me is now Suzette Speaks, as always, here on Wednesdays. And Suzette, let's talk a little bit about this upcoming GOP debate, right? And we can kind of still work off of that point that you brought up and I brought up and from the last segment, that I just don't think it's messaging. I don't think so. We got this GOP debate that's coming up tonight in Miami, your neck of the woods, right? You have 5 GOP candidates. It looks like they're dwindling down themselves. It looks like it's just, I don't know what's going on with this race.
There's too much people on the stage. So much confusion.
You think so?
Yeah, I think they're just making it more difficult. So now it's harder to qualify.
I think, you know what? And tell me if I'm wrong on this, Suzette. Tell me if I'm wrong on this. It feels like that. I remember when, maybe I remember when Biden ran. I remember when Obama ran. Like the GOP always had a large group of people, a large group of candidates, and it just seems very early that we're starting to see this dwindling down. But maybe I'm just wrong in that. Am I wrong in that? Because I felt like damn, that's fast. Like I thought it was like 10. Now it's down like 5 on the debate stage. And basically, if you can't make a debate now, it's like you pretty much can write your campaign is done.
Yeah, I think you're right. What happens is when the incumbent party is already in the White House, they normally, if the person is not term limited, run the same person because of name recognition, because of hopefully the record they have created. The opposing party has a bunch of people coming in now, aside from Donald Trump, to try to unseat the incumbent, President Biden. But what we're looking at now, you have to raise money and you have to have the poll numbers. That's why you and I always maybe agree to disagree when it comes to more people outside of possibly Biden running. It sounds good in theory, but when they're on the ballot or when they're polled, who would you vote for in this type of primary? Who would you vote for? The numbers don't lie. If you're polling at 2% and 3% and 4%, Mike Pence, who had to drop out, you have to just kind of let the strongest survive, and it can't kind of Darwinian effect. So I think it's not about the earliness. It's much more about where is the support? Where are they in fundraising? where are they in
Yeah.
polls? And if they just don't have the support, then they can't be on the debate stage taking up space, just there to kind of, put money in their pocket as speakers and other things, and, trying to elevate their individual, profile. That's not what it's about. So these are the people who have earned a spot, still in the running, still having the support and the poll numbers.
So let me ask you this, because this is interesting. So again, let's show a little picture of who's going to be at the debate tonight, Lise. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley, businessman Vivek Ramaswamy, former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie, and Senator Tim Scott of South Carolina. I'm gonna keep it real. I think Tim Scott is probably going to be the next one to fall out of here. He hasn't made any noise.
I think, well, he has some strong fundraising. He's a current senator, so he has people who have been supporting him from that position. I think he has a little bit more difficulty now that Nikki Haley has shown so brightly in the last two debates. So she, right now in Iowa, is polling neck and neck with Ron DeSantis. So when other people are shining and therefore collecting more of the attention and therefore the donations, it puts you kind of at a deficit. So I think Nikki Haley and Ron DeSantis are who to watch for, because they are, and again, the Republicans are starting first in Iowa. They are neck and neck right now in the polls. So they are kind of, they're besides Donald Trump, the top of the leaderboard. So Tim Scott is not right there right now. He has not, in my opinion, in the past debates, kind of been strong enough to, be memorable and come away with some future support, unlike, Vivek Ramaswamy. He's very charismatic. He has his sound bites prepared. He knows, when to kind of
And he talks a bunch of nonsense, Suzette. And the man talks trash.
That's what we talk about messaging. He's great at it, though. He's still in a race. He's still raising money.
I don't know. Like when I say nonsense, I'm not even talking. I'm talking about his theories, his ideas are completely like, bro, this is not even realistic for a presidential candidate.
He's never served. This idea that it's so great never have ever been in office, a la Mr. Trump. I don't know that, there is something that to be said about experience that allows us in a moment like this. And again, in the debate, I can't wait to hear what they're going to say about Israel. I want to hear what they do as far as their policy position when it comes to what's going on in the Middle East. We cannot take this as a joke. This is our country's future, right? This election, depending on who wins, it'll change the course of the United States if it goes one way or another. So what they're saying about what's going on in terms of international relations, what's happening between us and other countries, what's happening right now in the Middle East that looks to be escalating is really important. I cannot wait to hear from people like Vivek. Mr. Ramaswamy has no foreign policy experience. So, you're going to have Nikki Haley probably shine, right? She was an ambassador under Donald Trump to the UN. So she has that foreign policy experience. She knows, but again, how she lands on this issue, it's going to be very interesting, but she does very well on the debate stage. She sounds feminine, but firm, right? She doesn't come across as too crass or too in your face.
Yeah.
Sometimes female candidates have a very difficult time, bridging that gap between powerful and sounding, very, very offensive to some, right? Not my opinion, but what I've seen in studying women who run, how we have to very much walk that line, but she's walking it. And she's giving Ron DeSantis a run for his money. He, unlike her, doesn't come across as maybe as thoughtful and powerful. Some people like his style, but on the retail politics style, when he makes those stops in Iowa, I don't know if you've seen the pictures and the videos, it doesn't seem to come as naturally to him. When he's prepared and he's on his notes, he does a lot stronger, but sometimes he seems robotic, according to some commentators, and you can watch for yourself.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah,
my gosh.
Listen for policy. We do talk a lot about style, like I'm describing.
It's hard to do, Suzanne. It's hard to do that.
Policy. Yeah.
I'm hearing you. I hear you, and I respect you, and I think you're absolutely right. But it's hard to listen to policy when it's it's so muddled in the other stuff. It's like, it's like that Chris Christie, Mike Pence moment about sleeping with a teacher. It's like, where's the policy coming from? When I listen to Vivek Ramaswamy, it's like he talks about like what I would have done on January 6th is like I would have asked Congress to do, and it's like, bro, what are you talking about? Like it's so hard to listen to for policy when you have people who don't understand policy, or they put it on such of a low vibrational level that it just becomes like this other thing. It becomes gossip. It doesn't become policy. It becomes gossip.
And I'm also
that's
looking forward to, don't mean to interrupt, but I'm also looking forward to Chris Christie, because he's the only person that will call Donald Trump, former President Trump, by name and call him out. Of course, that will be the looming figure that is absent. He's going to hold a rally down here in Miami at the same time, because he can't speak, because he has cases everywhere, 91 counts. So anything
it doesn't
that he
matter.
says can be held against him, right? So wise counsel, don't get up on no stage, Donald Trump, and say anything crazy, because
So Donald Trump
so he's not going to be there. But the only person that will call him out by name, Chris Christie, be coming with that fire for Mr. Trump. So I'm grateful that he is able to do it.
And I get it. Here's the thing, and I think this is part of the reason why the candidates for the GOP side is dwindling. They put blood in the water. They put urine in the water. And here's the urine. The urine is they already put it out there via mass media that Trump is going to be the presidential nominee. So you already, and I'm just saying for the GOP side, should we even expect, or should we call for the GOP to be like, look, you guys need to, if y'all really want to change the course of how things are coming along for you, do not make somebody the presumptive nominee without actually going through this process. Because once they did that, it pretty much nullifies the existence of all of these other candidates. So now everybody is looking at these like a dog and pony show. It's like, who said this? Conscious Thought, I think you said it. You said, Conscious Thought, he said, focusing any attention on these GOP debates is and was a colossal waste of time.
I don't know. Like I agree with what you're saying. However, the polls is what drives the presumption that he will be the nominee. Right now, he's not convicted of anything, right? Right now, a year from the election, November 2024, he's still riding high on, and again, this is a problem with our system, that primary system is that you have to come out of your own party before you go into a general election. And right now, he leads them in any poll with that Republican primary base. Again, Republicans only voting in the primary, Democrats only when it's a closed primary, vote only in their primary. So you got to beat your teammates first before you go take on the other team. Right now, in almost any state you go to, any poll you go to, if you line Trump up on a ballot with these other people, he beats the team. So again, things can change depending on his legal status. What happens in this civil case
right.
with Letitia James, right? Again, he's been already you would call it found liable by the judge in New York for misrepresenting his wealth, and to what degree now will he pay is what their the phase of the trial that they're in. They're going to look now again. Ivanka Trump testified, his other two sons, Eric and Don Jr. testified. Now we're looking at whether people who have been believers in Trump will finally see something that sways them. But for right now, he has a chokehold on those Republican primary voters. The majority of people that's going to go out to the polls on the Republican side still are riding for him. So unless something changes, like I said, it's not a matter of them picking that. When you look at poll numbers, they still riding for him, which is 91 counts later. Again, we'll see. It's a long time. A year can change a lot of things, but will it change the Republican base? We have to just wait and see.
That's absolutely insane.
Insane. They love them some Trump.
I'm telling you, I get it. That is absolutely insane. Look, we got to take another quick pause. When we come forward, more conversation. Let's talk about some of the other things that are happening around the country outside of politics. So stay with us. It's the culture, excuse me, here on the Black Star Network.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
I love y'all. All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart. Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
I'm Farajii Muhammad, live from LA. And this is The Culture. The Culture is a two-way conversation. You and me. We talk about the stories, politics, the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. So join our community every day at 3 p.m. Eastern and let your voice be heard. Hey, we're all in this together. So let's talk about it and see what kind of trouble we can get into. It's The Culture, weekdays at 3, only on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Check some money orders. Go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm checking in with my sister Suzette Speaks. We're talking about the upcoming GOP debate that's happening tonight in Miami. Are folks excited? Are you, based upon how things are moving? I know traffic must be crazy,
I
but
had to
is
go down
there
to
a sense?
Biscayne for a meeting. Sorry to interrupt. I had to go down to Biscayne and I was dreading. I was like, they've started blocking off roads. I'm like, if Democrats come to town, I'm happy. But then I'm like, okay, the traffic's going to be bad because there's a Republican debate down the street.
Right.
So downtown Miami is a mess right now. If you're trying to get home, go now because it's going to be tons of traffic getting people in. Of course, we had security clearance even to go to our meeting. You know, people have to do all the bag checking and things like this. And so it's going to be a little hectic. So there is a buzz. I've been listening to, local news reports on it and folks are following it. Again, Rumble in the Jungle. Either party needs to awaken all demographics here in Florida, right? Hispanic voters, Black voters, white voters, LGBTQ voter, everybody plays a pivotal part in why Florida swings. Still, I do consider it purple, blue sometimes, and then red sometimes. But so there's a lot of energy. I think, like I said, there are other meetings going on with Democratic officials at the same time. But yeah, there's definitely a buzz in the air.
You are not a victim. You said that 3 of the 5 GOP candidates in this debate are part of a so-called marginalized group. You got a black man, a woman of color, and a man of color. In any other situation, they would be cheered on. Do you feel like this level of diversity might actually backfire on the GOP? Do you think that that's the case? And based upon what you put down, you are not a victim. I'm trying to make sure that that's the crux of what you're saying because I think it's a great point. How do you think that resonates with GOP members and with the rest of the country, Suzette?
I think because there are folks that still believe that Trump supporters are kind of synonymous with being some kind of, racist base. It's
Yeah.
important that the GOP have a myriad of faces and voices presenting their ideas. But I don't think it comes down to their ethnicity in this case. I think it comes down to, again, their ideas for what they want to do with the country. So I do think for the GOP, like I said, when they run candidates of color statewide, I don't know how successful. I would have to go back and look at each race. But here we are. You got Tim Scott. Again, they're not polling as high as Mr. Trump. Mr. Trump plus all of them together. I mean, like he wins. Like for all the people that are still on the sideline who didn't make the cut. So I don't know how significant it is that they're not making any headway within their own party. But yet to say just the optics should be a reason for applause, again, I think kind of minimizes us as voters. Yes, there are two Indian or South Asian, Americans there and Tim Scott. But I think people are far more concerned outside of their ethnicity with their policy positions.
You know what I think is funny about that level of identity politics is that I wonder, and I often ask when people have mixed heritages or mixed ethnicities, how do they see themselves? That's the big
Well,
metric for
with
me.
people black, you got to ask how they see themselves.
You're right. Exactly. That was the point I was also going to make too. Like if you have black people, if you have biracial individuals, how do they see themselves? Because we see them one way. We might look at Vivek Ramaswamy and we might say, oh, well, maybe he's not the best example because he probably say, no, I am Indian. But if you look at a Nikki Haley or something, she's like, well, I have a mixture of this and a mixture of that. But do you still see yourself as part of white America? You know what I'm saying? And I think that that's the question. Is like, how do you see yourself? Because we see you one way, but you might see yourself a different way. And that makes a world of difference when we're talking about marginalized communities or marginalized representation and diversity. Do you agree or disagree?
Absolutely, because I mean, black folks have this saying that all skin folk ain't kin folk. So
Right.
I think it also agrees with, someone being a part of an ethnic group, not necessarily seeing themselves the same way other persons that belong to that ethnic group do. I think that's a real thing. So again, when you listen to them, I think that's where either the connection or the disconnect happens. Think about, what they're saying as opposed to just what they look like. So if there's some relatability on issues, right, regardless of ethnicity. But I do think it's very interesting sometimes when we see people placed strategically in front of us on both the Democratic and the Republican side to say, look, we have diversity here. But again, looking at their record, listening to their policy positions are much more definitive and defining as to whether you as the voter want that, or should be more defining as to whether you, the voter, want this person to represent you or not.
Do you think that, what do you think is the best approach that black voters should have listening to this debate tonight? Should black voters come in with, and as I'm seeing from the crew in the chat, you got to listen to what the enemy is talking about. Should they have that? Should we have that approach? Or should we have an approach and say, let me hear what these candidates have to say because they might speak to my interests, they might speak to my values. What would you say is the best approach for the black voter at this point?
Yeah, I would say, again, when we are in a kind of a democratic frame of mind, understanding the other sides, again, not to assume all black people are Democrats or that they will vote Democrat, but understanding the various points of view strengthens your ability to say, okay, well, this is why my policy position is different, or opens you to understanding, wait, do I actually agree with what they're saying? The discourse should happen. Staying within your own silo, among your own people. This is what the problem is, why we need to regulate our social media companies, is because they put you in a bubble based on your ads that you like to click on, based on what you Google and what sites you visit. They feed you affirming information, websites, commercials, products. The people that design this stuff, again, is trying to make sure you are a quote consumer, not an American, a consumer, and putting your information in a trove that is sold to people who want you to consume what they have. So if we are staying in those bubbles, we're not able to truly understand the differences between why I say I believe I'm a Democrat or a Republican or a conservative or progressive or whatever you call yourself. You have to be able to understand what the other person and the other side, if you will, is saying. So I do think looking at it as, us versus them, I think there's a lot of places that, again, the government has to work by finding compromise. So if we're only saying, that's what we saw in the speaker race, that you can only be a part of our gang, if you will, the Matt Gaetz wing, that right, burn it all down wing of the Republicans, you don't get anything done. So you have to understand where there can be common ground, and again, where there is maybe too much difference, where we're like, oh no, you're on the wrong side of that issue for me. But yes, I think you should be listening to learn, and then to make an assessment as to where you stand in comparison or contrast to what they're saying. I think it's very important that we listen to. I listen to Fox News every now and then. I listen to other outlets. I don't just consume things that confirm. You would even call it my bias, right? I have to be able to be neutral in a way to look at what other people are saying from different points of views. It strengthens your perspective. So don't just necessarily think you're always disagree, even though you may disagree with a lot of what's being said. It's good to understand where other people are coming from.
And it's so unfortunate that we do live in a time where people are reading less, listening more, and thinking. Our thinking is not the same place where it used to be, right? We are in a very, critical thinking has become not the commonality, but it's becoming like this other thing, like, oh, you actually think through these things. So I agree with you. And I saw a pretty brown meme. You said, I think the only Republican that I would vote for is Michael Steele and the late General Colin Powell. Those Republicans are not here anymore. And I know exactly what you mean, Mimi. Those Republicans are not here anymore. You're talking about Republicans? Yes, you're not going to agree with them, but they had some understanding of the American people. This GOP party that we're looking at right now, this thing is a circus act to me. And it's very hard to take any of these people seriously, all the way from Donald Trump to any of the folks that are on stage. It's very hard. The sad part about it is we do got to take it seriously because they're the ones that is shaping, or they're the ones that is helping to influence the policies that are enacted in states across this country, right? They become this conduit, this vessel for that type of sentiment. So, that's the part that we have to listen to. The fact that at the end of the day, even though you may not agree with them, we might think they say the craziest things. Some of these people are actually in positions of power. They're in positions of influence. And that's the scary thing, Suzette.
Well, they've carved up the districts and chosen their voters. When we call that word gerrymandering. So yet people vote for them. But if the districts look different, maybe people wouldn't vote for them. Maybe they have these districts made so that they keep their seat. They're not worried. Marjorie Taylor Greene and Matt Gaetz is not worried about their seats. They're going to keep going back because when they were in power, they flexed it. They redrew the maps. That's why we talk about 2024. What's going to be more important is when we get back to census years coming up in the next 5-10 years, looking at who gets the power to redraw these maps yet again. That's why it's important to run now. I'm worried about 2024, but I'm also worried about 2028, right? As we get ready to redraw the maps again, because right now the politicians have chosen their voters. They created electoral maps to make sure they have supermajorities and that people still keep their seats no matter what their politics. That's not right. It is circumventing the will of the voter. So that's why when we say we're going to stay home, when you stay home, the other people still flexing on you. The other people are still exerting their power and read, oh, we're gonna change the rules now. Oh wow, we'll in Georgia, okay, now we'll make a law that we can remove certain prosecutors from the legislature. You ever heard something like this? Because what they seen Fani Willis do, oh no, rogue prosecutors, they're doing it here in Florida. Removing Andrew Warren out of Tampa, Monique Roel, the people who were duly elected by the people of that district. So they can't win on the sheer numbers, but they're going to change the rules on you. So you have to be very cognizant of what we're talking about and what's at stake when we say we got to vote. Again, not saying that Democrats have it all together. We got to make that party accountable to us as well. I'm not saying that just blindly vote, but I am saying that when we stay on the sidelines, when we stay home, this is what happens. They are going to create the type of democracy that they believe in that's going to support their interests, right? The voters that voted for them, their interests, right? And Trump is still riding strongly on those Supreme Court nominees and people that he put forward that are still changing the way this country is going to be governed in years to come. We have some pivotal coming up, whether or not we are under the Second Amendment going too far to remove guns from people who have been convicted of domestic violence, right? You have temporary orders that remove guns from people. People have sued now, and it's going up to the Supremes to ask the Supreme Court, wait, is that a violation of our Second Amendment? How do you think they're going to rule? Right? All of this, again, the pieces of the puzzle. Yes, we all believe in democracy, but everybody doesn't have the same interests. So we have to make sure the American people are awake. Black people are awake, especially in
absolutely. Let me get a couple of comments before we take our final pause. So Carolyn, you said, Carolyn Harrison, you said some folks are better salespeople than others. There it is. Some people are better salespeople than others. Tiana, you said yesterday's Republicans are not today's Republicans.
I
Absolutely
like that,
not.
That's interesting.
The ABX girl, you said, I bet in 2028, many of us will not even be in the USA if Trump wins.
We would have a different country, guys. This will be this experiment called the United States of America. My goodness. You know what he would do with the Justice Department? You know who's in it? Man.
Please. He's trying to put everything under the rule of the president's office. He's trying to just consolidate everything.
Weaponized.
And then Tiana, you said you don't hear rich people talking about not voting because you know how they vote, Tiana? With their wallets.
They
vote with their wallets. Either way, they're gonna vote. We're gonna cast my vote. They're gonna put a little something here, a little something there. And whichever party wins, they're going to get something from either party. They vote with their wallets. Yeah. The rest of us, Suzette,
we still can give our $5, $10, $20 now. Let's go. The 30 and up.
But you know what I mean? You know what I mean, though, Suzette. They put that money on the table.
No, I understand that. We know that Obama has shown us those small donors can also make a difference. But that's the class we're in now. Let's go Zennials. Let's go Millennials. Let's go Gen Xers. We cannot rely on the boomers. I go to meetings now and everybody's gray haired. I'm appreciative of the foundation. We need the stalwart. We have the experience. We need that, right? But we got to have younger and various generational representation in across the board in politics. That's why looking at Gabe Ammo, I'm excited. Let's go. Like, we got to have good people step forward and want to make a difference.
Absolutely. We got to take another pause. When we come back, let's stop talking about politics and let's start talking about culture. What to get Suzette. I wanted to wait to have this conversation with Suzette to talk about Lauryn Hill. Yeah. Does she care about our time, folks? Does she really care? Is it that thing that she cares about? We'll talk a little bit about that as we close out the show. Stay with us. It's The Culture here on the Black Star Network.
Pull up a chair. Take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punch! I'm real revolutionary right now.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
All right, folks, welcome back to the culture here on the Black Star Network. Bring my sister Suzette Speaks back into the frame here. All right, let's talk. We got a lot of politics talk today, but I wanted to get your take, Suzette, on this cultural conversation about Lauryn Hill. There's actually a number of cultural conversations, but I said let's talk with Miss Lauryn Hill. And the
You better
question
say
is,
Miss. You better put them. Hey. Don't be mad.
and let me just say this on the outset. I love Lauryn Hill. I'm a Lauryn Hill fan. I'm a Lauryn Hill fan. But here's what I think has gone. She wrong. She wrong.
Tell me.
I love her. I love her. But she's wrong. You look, I get it. When you are that late, and I ain't talking about 15 minutes or, we can, but you're an hour, 2 hours late. And then when the question is asked, well, why are you always late? Can we play the video? Come on, y'all. Come on.
I would love to show that video.
Yo, y'all lucky I make it on this blood rise stage every night. I don't do it because they let me do it. I do it because I stand here in the name of God, and I do it. God is the one who allows me to do it, who surrounded me with family and community when there was no support, when the album sold so many records, and no one showed up and said, hey, would you like to make another one? So I went around the world and I played the same album over and over and over again. Because we're the survivors. And we're not just the survivors, we're the thrivers.
Farajii.
I'm here.
I disagree maybe to a certain extent. Now, I'm just going to play devil's advocate, all right? So I look at some other concerts, and we've recently had several rap concerts down here. I won't call any artist name. Okay, the baby and some other people. Or the little baby. I don't want to get it wrong. Let me not. Don't quote me. Don't quote me. But they coming out. One was really crazy. My friend went and was like, it was almost 2 hours late, like ridiculous. And that is a custom. I don't know if that's a good custom, but oftentimes, I went to Beyonce. I went to Renaissance, and the start time was 9 or 8 or 9, but I know with traffic and stuff, people give you time to get to your seat, and it was like a whole other hour.
It was an hour for Beyonce's concert.
It was again, later than the start time because people need.
All right, for the concert. How long did it take Beyonce to hit the stage?
I think right after like an hour-ish mark. I think it was like a full hour because at first people were nervous. You have to get food. You have, the stadium has to parking, etc. So I think they do give you a little extra time. So Lauryn Hill is a little different. Okay, so I just want to put it out there that there are certain customs that are kind of in play when it comes to concert going. So just based on her comments there, and I saw it, and it did kind of bring a tear to my eye. There's a lot going on, and I don't want to put words in Miss Lauryn Hill's mouth, right? Just based on what she said, just kind of listening. And there may be differences of opinion from what people hear, right? But from what I heard, there's a lot of residual pain as to why it may be both like a joy and a burden for her to perform and do what is expected of a somebody with her longevity, of her caliber, etc. Now in that clip she does talk about, and y'all remember the album The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill when it came out. I don't know if you guys remember. I mean, I had it on CD and I was playing it.
Look, Suzanne, we all have it. We got it. Matter of fact, it's in our Apple Music playlist right now.
I can sing almost every lyric on every
Everybody
song.
got it. Everybody got
So
it.
The pain that she talks about, and I'll be quick, the pain that she talks about is the fact that she had this iconic moment in music, not just hip hop, not anything. And then there was a follow-up of her gift of saying, wow, this is amazing. She had to do an acoustic version. She said, in that clip, I went around the world singing the same songs over and over. And it was so beautiful and got so many awards and Grammys and this and that. But that was it. It was too conscious. And for some, they will look at that assessment as to why certain music we always talk about is not promoted enough. And hers is one of them. And I think there's a lot of pain, especially in the, what can I say, underappreciation. Now she has her diehard fans. You got them of all races, colors.
Wait a minute, underappreciated. Hold on, Suzanne. Hold on.
Yes.
Do you know how many albums The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill sold in 1998?
I believe it.
I looked it up.
Go ahead.
It was like 20 million.
As it should. But ain't nobody imagine selling 20 million records, Taylor Swift, and nobody asked you to make another record after that.
No, but here's the thing. Her album really was as comparable in terms of sales and impact as her solo album was just as comparable as the album that she put out with her band members, the Fugees, 2 years earlier. Like her album was a rival to a group album.
Oh right? No, 100%.
You know what I'm saying? And then here's the thing. I'm not mad that she's going through what she's gone through. I always wonder, well, why hasn't she released a second album? Like, why hasn't she? Because the people would love to hear a second album from Lauryn Hill, man. And then when we got the, y'all remember that MTV uncut joint that she did? Yeah, the acoustic joint. Yeah, okay, I get it. Artistically, I'm fine with it, but I still didn't think that was like an album situation.
Lauryn Hill, yeah.
Lauryn, right. But the point is, this is not the point. The point is just being considerate of other people's time.
So
That's
back
all.
to the time part, you're saying, so
It's just,
regardless of
that's
all
all
that,
it is.
she need to show
It's
up
just-
on time.
Just look, if you're showing up 2 hours late, 3 hours, I mean, and look, I was listening to some other folks talking about this. You're talking about grown ass people, because this is the generation that she's speaking to, like you and me, right? Folks in our age range.
Grown.
We got children, grown ass men and women. We got children. We got work. We got shit to do. Now look, I'm not taking away from the gift. I'm not taking away from the artistry. I'm not even taking away from her humanity. I'm just simply saying we got shit to do. And after
people paying and they voting with their purse strings. Who said it in the chat? They were like, if y'all don't like it, don't go. But people still paying and people still going. So yeah,
because guess what? That's just the love that we have. Lauryn Hill is in a special case. But guess what? Here's the thing that you won't see Beyonce doing. And brother Damon said it. Beyonce was 2 hours late due to traffic in Kansas City. Here's what you won't see. She gonna give you a full concert, but everywhere she goes, she gonna make it an effort to show, and she does. She says, "I've seen Beyonce. Sorry, I'm a little late, y'all. Y'all know how it go, bop, bop, bop. But we gonna." And then she might be like, "You know what? I'm gonna do a little extra set."
They killing us in the back chat. They want us to end, but this is an interesting conversation. We'll see with let's leave your comments, guys, after the show. We got to wrap by. No, poor. Oh my goodness, we're over time, but
dude, it's also.
Leave your comments
I know.
Lauryn Hill, y'all.
No. I love Miss Lauryn Hill. I want her to put out a second album. I don't want it to be at the expense of who she is and what she stands for. But Miss Lauryn Hill, we love you. We just want to see you show up on time. That's all.
Farajii,
we will be there. We will ride with you till the wheels fall off. The culture loves you.
Don't put me in that. Love you, Lauryn Hill.
All
Bye,
right.
guys.
Suzette Speaks. Follow her on all social media. Make sure y'all check out her show. And of course, support her on Pantheon. Suzette, thank you so much for being
See you
so
next
great
week.
and so
Bye,
good for the
everybody.
culture. Talk to you soon. All right, folks, that's going to do it for us. I thank you so much for tuning in. Thank my dynamic production team, Joel, Shannon, Maddie, Chris, Lise, and King Keenan for making this happen today. And of course, I thank all of you, my online culture crew. Make sure y'all do diligence. Support us on Black Star Network. Go to our website today at blackstarnetwork.com. Download the app. Follow us on social media. And of course, continue to give us something to help us power us in this digital movement. I thank y'all for so much for checking in today. Tomorrow, we're going to talk about November being Native American Heritage Month. So we're going to be talking to a Native American member to talk about the importance of celebrating this month and the importance of continuing to build a relationship between the Native American community and Black folks. So we'll have that conversation tomorrow. So make sure y'all tune in for that. But as always, stay tuned. Up next, 6 p.m. Eastern Time, Roland Martin Unfiltered. As always, remember this: never be afraid to challenge what's wrong, stand for what's right while being yourself in the process. God willing, we will talk tomorrow for another exciting edition of The Culture right here on the Black Star Network. Talk to you soon. Peace.